Hey everyone, and welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're popping the hood and diving deep into a piece of absolute history. We're exploring the legendary 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air. You know, if you've ever found yourself wondering why some cars completely transcend being just a basic machine to get you from point A to point B, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break down the anatomy of this legend, its design, its sheer power, and a legacy that just won't quit. Let's get right into it.
Welcome to the golden era of American automobiles. I mean, wow, that quote really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly sets the mood for the 1950s. This was a time when cars weren't just manufactured on an assembly line, they were celebrated. The entire automotive industry was just bursting with this incredible ambition and creativity. And right smack in the middle of this renaissance sits our star today, truly one of the most iconic classic cars ever built.
Introduced in 1957, the Bel Air definitely wasn't just another vehicle. It almost instantly became a massive symbol of style, power, and freedom. And the crazy thing? It didn't take decades for it to build that reputation. It connected with the public right out of the gate. People took one look at it and just saw this ultimate expression of personal liberty and completely bold design.
So, how exactly did it pull that off? How did it achieve that iconic status so fast? Well, let's take a look at the anatomy of this masterpiece. We're going to break down the physical, nuts and bolts design choices that made the 57 Bel Air an absolute standout wherever it rolled up. The designers certainly weren't playing it safe here. They made some seriously bold moves.
First up, let's talk about the front of the car. Just look at that dazzling chrome grille, and I mean dazzling literally. This wasn't some subtle, blended-in front end. They used all this bright, highly reflective chrome right up front so it would catch the sun and totally grab your attention before you even saw the rest of the car. It was basically a massive statement piece leading the charge.
Then, as your eye moves along the body, you hit that elegant two-tone paint. Now, this wasn't just slapping a brake color on some metal. The two-tone look added this whole layer of sophistication. It really highlighted the car's long, sweeping lines and gave buyers this premium, customized feel. It was actually a really clever visual trick that made the car look longer, sleeker, and just incredibly modern for the time. And then, we get to the back, the truly unforgettable tail fins. Now, you gotta remember, these weren't put there for aerodynamics. No way. This was pure, unapologetic design meant to capture the absolute optimism of the 1950s. They were this subtle nod to the jet age and space exploration that was just taking off. So dramatic, completely audacious, and yeah, absolutely unforgettable. So you've got the dazzling chrome grille, the elegant two-tone paint, and those totally unforgettable tail fins. It was the way these specific features came together that created a cohesive masterpiece. It was a totally unified vision of what a car could look like, and it pretty much guaranteed that the Bel Air was the center of attention on any street. But hey, style is only half the story, right? Remember earlier we said it was a symbol of style and power? So let's peel our eyes away from all that gleaming exterior for a second and talk about what was actually driving this beast. We need to talk about the power under the hood. Because honestly, the engineering was just as crucial to the legend of the Bel Air as the paint job and the chrome. Underneath that massive hood, buyers actually had the option to drop in a seriously powerful V8 engine. By offering a V8, Chevrolet made sure the Bel Air wasn't just, a pretty face. It had the actual mechanical muscle to back up its bold presence on the road. That V8 is really what breathed life into that whole concept of power we were talking about earlier. So what did a V8 actually mean if you were the one sitting behind the wheel? Well, it meant genuinely exciting performance for its time. We aren't just talking about abstract numbers on a spec sheet here. When you put your foot down, the car responded. It made driving thrilling, engaging, and fun, delivering an experience that completely lived up to its dazzling looks.
All right, to truly wrap our heads around why we're still talking about this specific car today, we have to look at its cultural impact. The 1957 Bel Air went way beyond just being a way to commute to work. It became a bona fide American icon, taking on a surprisingly heavy and significant role in history.
Think about it like this. When you take the tangible things, that roaring V8 engine, those sky-high tail fins, they somehow added up to something totally intangible. This car came to represent the spirit of the 1950s and the American dream itself. All that post-war optimism, the economic boom, the feeling that absolutely anything was possible, it was all literally wrapped up in the steel, chrome, and rubber of the 57 Bel Air.
Now, you might be thinking that a car so perfectly tied to one specific decade would just fade away as times changed. But actually, the exact opposite happened. It transitioned from being a contemporary symbol of the American dream straight into a timeless legend. Its appeal hasn't faded. If anything, it's only gotten deeper as the decades have rolled by.
Even today, right now, collectors all over the world absolutely revere this masterpiece. And it's not just an American nostalgia thing either, it is globally recognized. People hunt these down for their timeless beauty. I mean, those tail fins and that two-tone paint somehow never really went out of style. And of course, for that rock-solid engineering we touched on. It's still one of the most highly sought-after artifacts of a golden era.
Which brings us to this ultimate truth. The 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air is not just a classic car, it is a true legend. There are thousands of classic cars out there in the world, right? But very, very few ever earn the title of legend. By perfectly blending that daring style, the exciting power, and this incredibly deep cultural resonance, the Bel Air put itself in a category completely of its own.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider something. This true legend continues to inspire generations today. When you look at modern automotive design, or even just how we express freedom and style in our own lives, ask yourself, how does the legend of the 1957 Bel Air continue to inspire generations today? Do you still see little echoes of those tail fins or that dazzling chrome out there on the road? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I really hope this gave you a whole new appreciation for the anatomy of a true automotive legend.